Okay, confession. I've only played through Oblivion a handful of times, not nearly as much as New Vegas or Skyrim, yet I just really wanted to make a video on it, something simple to start off with. Leveling up is a concept that needs no explanation for any RPG, yet Oblivion in particular, its relationship with it is odd, so to speak. How would the game play out if for some reason you could not do it? In other words, can you beat The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster without leveling up? Starting out with character creation, I wasn't sure what I wanted to pick. Wanting something different other than a Dark Elf or Breton for their great resistances to fire and magic, I ended it up instead picking a Nord from the West for their increased endurance. Oblivion's character creator lives up to its name and infamy in creating horrid, sleep paralysis demon nightmares, and I am no different with my creation. The original idea was to make him look like a human minion, hence the yellow skin, but this was very much lost by the end. He ended up looking more like Tweety Bird in hindsight. Still, with the minion idea in my head, I named him Kevin Bob Stewart and have him be berated by everybody's favorite cellmate racist. When the Emperor's retinue arrive, I attempt to bludgeon them with the pots in my cell, but they seem to be non-corporeal for the moment. I continue in vain to annoy Boris until he has enough and yells at me. While they're engaged with the Mythic Dawn, I instead become interested in this floating beetle. Once the wall crumbles from the rat, I can then begin sprinting through the rats, goblins, and zombies in my way, as being the tutorial, nothing will slow me down. With no restrictions on what build I can be, I decide to focus on a tank build. Figuring I want the most defense and raw damage output from skills and equipment I can get for the later half of the game. Catching back up with Captain Picard, I made a serious error when selecting my birth sign. What I mean is, I believe when I was selecting the warrior sign for added strength and endurance, but I instead hit continue, which gave me what I was last active on, that being the apprentice sign? I wasn't paying attention clearly, but why wouldn't it go with what I was hovering over? Considering I won't be using magic much this run, I guess I just made things extra difficult given the apprentice's weakness to magic. Either way, it is not long before I and the Blades fail at protecting the doomed Emperor, and Boris gets me to create my class. I decide to create a custom one. Combat focuses for the entree, strength and endurance attributes for the main course, and armor, athletics, block, blunt, heavy armor, acrobatics, and restoration major skills on the side. Refusing to let the minion idea die in my head, I named the class something uncreative, and cut the rest of the way to the sewer exit. Once outside and being able to breathe fresh air, I bully the bandits in and around Vilverin for early XP and loot. The Vulcan stones here are many and sell for a good price. Here I hit enough skill increases to be able to level up, which of course I cannot do, so I must avoid sleeping in beds from here on out. It's here I also clarify a few things in case there is confusion. While I cannot level up overall, I can still increase levels for individual skills, unlocking their perks after reaching certain levels. What not leveling up will affect, however, are many, from enemy types that spawn, their loot, dungeon loot, merchant inventories, and enchantment and potion strengths, among a few other things. It can be argued that leveling up makes Oblivion in particular easier, especially the original. I knew this going in, but wanted to see how different it would play out for myself. After making a brief trip to the Imperial Market to sell my initial loot and buying of repair hammers, I set out for Wayne Priory. For whatever reason, I decided to run there from the Imperial City rather than fast travel, probably because I wanted to improve my athletic skill. I did this too with my first trip to Kvatch and Bruma as well, but soon after just started fast traveling to get this over and done with. Once Joffrey's given the amulet, he then kicks me out after looking at my ugly face and tells me to get Martin so I can be his wingman for the plot. Outside Kvatch, and I stumbled upon this abandoned house that upon entering gives me the quest The Sunken One. It tells me to find clues to where the previous owners went, but I couldn't find any. Going back out, I noticed the nearby cave and figured it had to do something with this quest, giving the flying imps outside. Sure enough, after bonking some more imps, I find the body of the former elven owner, and it seems I skipped right to the end of the quest. So much for following the intended path, so I loot his pouch of semi-valuable materials, and then get chased by a sudden storm atronach. Fortunately, he is too big for most of the cave, and I beat him by retreating out of reach and pelting him with arrows. I then reached the refugee camp outside Kvatch and paused my first recording here. When I came back, Hertel manages to talk with me before the world fully loads in, resulting in this odd scene as it finishes loading in around him. Talking to Salvius Matthias outside the portal to Hell, and he enlists my help in closing it. By staying at level 1, the portal is filled with nothing but stunted scamps and the occasional Dramora. With that in mind, it's a short jog till me and Ilanvanius here, who manages to survive all the way this time by the way, made it to the top of the tower and closed the gate. Inside the gate, I did loot and use a Dramora mace, and also found some iron gauntlets to complete my armor set. Back out into the normal world, Matthias is raring to go into Kvatch. The initial Daedra are easy, and I let the guards take care of them. Don't want to accidentally smack one of them in the back of the head. Either way, with them cleared out, Martin is ready to follow me, which he does as I continue with Matthias to clear out the rest of Kvatch. Same as before the chapel, as we make it inside the castle with ease after lowering the gate. It is here I hit Journeyman levels in Blunt, so now power attacks will grant me a short temporary shield spell. Also, I must have overlooked some simmering tensions at my current party, as after the last Daedra fell, the Kvatch guards turned on and killed my Legion soldier backup, and then knocked out Martin. In fact, just for fun, I'll put up a little Tamriel team kill counter in the top corner to keep track of every friendly fire murder from here on out. Spoilers for later, this is not the last time friendly fire murder will happen. Thankfully, Martin is still essential at this time, and the run wasn't screwed over. Inside the castle for the last segment, and I encounter some normal scamps for a change. Only real difference is taking a few more bonks to put down. I retrieve the Count's ring, return it to Matthias, who then gives me the clothes off his back, which I don't intend to use, it being light armor, so I hope I don't hurt his feeling too much when I get back around and just sell it. With that, Kvatch is avenged and right to give help later for Bruma. Back to the Priory, and just in time for the Mythic Dawn to attack. I mourn the death of Prior Maberol before looting his gold ring. Forgot to mention I upgraded by taking the dead Legion armor off the guards and began using their steel war axe too. Swings faster than the mace after all. I then disappoint Joffrey by the lack of amulet, but excite him by gaining an emperor, and the three of us make our way to Cloud Ruler Temple. Sorry, I was lying, and instead I went back to the Imperial City to sell loot, and then opted to begin the arena questline, figuring I got some good loot and skill to make some progress. That being given, most combatants only take a handful of hits, and I can make it all the way to Bloodletter before deciding to give a move on again. It's funny to me as I make my way up to each match, Martin and Joffrey just stare at me as I go on by. And yes, this combatant decided to trade in his birthday suit. Speaking of birthday suits, I don my own once we get to Cloud Ruler Temple so I can jump onto the highest point of the roof for fun. Once the awkward meet and greet is over, my next assignment is to help Boris complete his task of collecting all the commentaries on Mehrunes Dagon. That can be started by playing a very short game of Follow the Leader, and then attacking the odd man out as soon as we enter the basement. A short trip to Termenia at the Arcane University, and she hands me book number 2. Flying through, she points me towards book number 3 at the first edition bookstore. I can easily scare Gwyneth, the pint-sized elf, with the reality that he will become an associate to the Emperor's murder by owning that book, making him give it to me. He also gives me information to get book number 4, so me and Boris trek through the sewers to go get it. When we get to the Mythic Dawn meeting, I opt to let Boris meet them, as this way he has a better survival chance in my experience. I don't wait long for Raven Camoran to appear and rush him down. He's nice enough to part with his Ring of Fire shield, which can prove handy for future Oblivion gates. Either way, book number 4 is in my hands. I can dispose the rest of Raven's lackeys and then leave. Having been through this before, I head for the Camoran family tomb in the Imperial City and wait for noon to show me the location of the Mythic Dawn hideout. Annoyingly, the game for whatever reason wouldn't let me wait more than an hour at a time. It only happened here during the run, so is there something about the Imperial City Palace that doesn't allow waiting? Regardless, I get the location and am there in a short time. I don't bother with blending in and immediately plant my axe into the first Mythic Dawn forehead I see. The cultists are easy prey going down after less than 3 hits. That is, when they're alone. I found this out when I attempted to rush the altar to grab the Mysterium Xarxes and was very quickly blasted with lightning from multiple sources. Damn my star sign fuck up. Second try, I hit upon a working solution. I got close enough for some of them to detect me, and then retreated back to the room entrance where I could swiftly cut them down one by one. Or at least in smaller numbers as they came up in groups. With only 3 left, I sniped 2 of them with flame spells before triggering Camoran to run up to where she too was chopped down. The few initiates left weren't much of a problem. They could have been if they weren't such cowards like here, but I'm not complaining. Next task in the main story is finding the spies in Bruma, and this was very quick. Waiting by the standing stone and then the first appears, then dies. The second spy then attacked me while heading into Bruma, and even had some backup in the form of a hostile conjurer, but was killed before he could help. After some breaking and entering, I find the plans we're after and wrap this quest up. I do make a weapon upgrade by buying a silver war axe from the blacksmith in Bruma, which I use for the rest of the run. Now that Martin has had time to read the whole 2 pages of the Xarxes, he can formulate the shopping list of errands he needs me to finish. The first is where this run hits the biggest snag, that being a Daedric artifact. The problem with this is, all of the Daedric quests in Oblivion are level gated and cannot be attempted at level 1. At least not normally. After all, this is Oblivion, and when there's a way, there's some exploit cheese to get you there. I tried to stay away from anything considered to be an exploit when doing these runs, but here I really have no exception. For all you hardcore, long-time Oblivion players out there, all I really need to do is say the location of where I'm headed, and you'll put together why. The place? Vindazel. The reason? Umbra. Why? Umbra the person, when slain, can allow you to hand Umbra the weapon over to Kvatch's vial to jump ahead and complete his Daedric quest, which you normally have to be level 20 to start. The problem? Umbra is one of, if not the toughest NPC in the game. She is level 50, wears a full set of unique ebony armor, and hits like a runaway freight train. But this is where the cheese comes in. I don't necessarily have to kill her. Instead, somebody else can. By aggroing her on me with a firebolt, I can get her to chase me out of Vindazel and lead her towards the Imperial City. Even though she is in heavy armor, she is still quite fast, and so I strip out of my armor again as to stay ahead of her. I don't want to get too far ahead, or she'll stop chasing me, so the run to the Imperial City is quite tense. When we do make it there, all hell breaks loose. The guards register Umbra as hostile and begin attacking her, but they are far too weak compared to her. As such, Umbra begins effortlessly carving her way through the guards and any unfortunate brave civilians who attempt to join in. I, for one, can find refuge in places Umbra cannot reach, like the center garden and the walls. After several cries of "Help! Murder!" things are looking desperate. Things get even crazier when a few Mythic Dawn assassins also joined in the fray, attacking both the guards and Umbra. Needless to say, Umbra has her way with them too. At one point, the guards seem to have cornered her in the moat, but that just means she doesn't have to close the distance to slash away at them. It's to the point where I lost track of how many kills she got, and the walkway in the Talos district is just littered with corpses.
Pathetic. Die! I'm just warming up, you
Help!
worm!
Murder!
Umbra herself resembles a porcupine with how many arrows are sticking out of her. When I finally peek at her health bar, however, she is quite close to death. I jump back onto the wall where she can't reach me, and hope I could whittle her the last of her health away by pelting her with spells and arrows, but I swear she started regenerating health instead when I did so. After running out of arrows, I booked it for the nearest door, hoping the guards in other sections of the city could finish the job. Running into the temple district, Umbra very nearly killed me, but I did eventually find another hiding spot. I peeked out just in time to see the final blow, as Umbra finally went down. Checking her inventory, I am flabbergasted to find 147 arrows in her inventory, and most of her armor was broken from the fighting. Thankfully, I've been hoarding plenty of repair hammers, and can fix her equipment to max. Wearing her gear gives me an armor rating of 41, sure to trivialize the last half of the game, I bet. Picking it all up does leave me over encumbered, so I opt to just waddle all the way to the market district and sell some stuff. I also decide to strip all the devs I pass by in the Talos district and sell it too. Call it wrong to scavenge the dead, but it's not like this is the first time Thorinar here has bought items like that. Not wanting to give Umbra away just yet after that tussle, I decide to use it to decimate my way through the rest of the arena. Despite focusing on blunt, Umbra is still stronger than my other weapons. And decimate is the right word. Most opponents don't even last 30 seconds against me. Oh, and this guy is still training without armor. The first match that gave me trouble was the fight against the 3 Argonian triplets, as their jabs and constant movement made focusing on one a little difficult. The Khajiit after almost got me as well. When it came to the yellow team champion, I focused her backup first, mainly the archer, as Porkchop wrecked the spellcaster and assisted in the champion's demise as well. With that, all that's left is the Grey Prince. Given how fast I blazed through the previous fights, and being allowed my regular armor, I was confident in this match, only for him to shut me down with a move that knocked me to the ground and drained my health in seconds. In the second attempt, I just in time pull up the inventory screen and spams potions to stay in the fight when the same move happens. After a few more back and forths, Umbra and I triumph over the Great Prince, becoming Grand Champion, giving me immense fame and fortune, and a hype man for all future travels. Yay! With the arena finished, I came out of it with just over 13,000 gold, and after some thought decided to buy something big and expensive I'd never used before, and decided to buy the Aegis of the Apocalypse from Fernando. The buffs to heavy armor blunt, along with equal armor ratings with Umbra's chest piece, is pretty good. Luck drain is less so, and neither is the negative 20 points of health, which I didn't know about since it's cut off on the list of effects. Regardless, it's back to Vin Diesel, and after a quick jog over to the Shrine to Clavicus Vile, where I can hand over Umbra and receive the Mask of Clavicus Vile, which I then promptly hand over to Martin. Journeying back to Bruma, I'm here to help Captain Bird close the portal outside the city. Given my overcompensating equipment upgrades and Bird alone being a big brute of a man, on top of 2 more guard backup, the climb up this particular tower is the easiest one yet. The adoring fan does follow me in, and does his part of amusement by vigorously dancing up against these spikes. The easiness is so great I'm able to one-shot stunted scamps with a power attack, but we do lose the 2 backup guards in the process. The stone I get from here is very useful, as it provides me with 5% magic resistance, which I apply to the boots, something to offset my weakness to it, I guess. Continuing down Martin's errand list, next item he requests is the armor Tiber Septum. My closest fast travel point is to Coral, and while there I decide to jump into the Oblivion portal there, one to get another sigil stone to enchant my armor, and to also enlist their help for Bruma later. Only 2 things worth mentioning here was the game crashing when I entered the first tower, which I believe was only the second time the game crashed. The other was the implied death of the adoring fan, as I believe this stunted scamp I left here killed him while I rode away on the Ascension call. My luck turns around though, as the sigil stone I get is another magic resistance one, bringing me up to 10% total. Running the way to Sacred Tor, I happen upon this tree, which upon close inspection seems to be growing stone, which totally rocks.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Anyway, once at my destination, the skeletons go down just as easy as anything I've fought so far, only taking 3 to 4 hits at most. I was hesitant at first I would need to use magic to kill the ghosts in the dungeon, but evidently not, as I'm guessing silver weapons can hurt them? I figured I needed either higher skill or an enchanted weapon to harm them. Either way, they're easy too. And so are the cursed blade skeletons, whose swords will fetch a nice price when sold. I was prepared to mostly skip over this part of the run, but something very unusual occurred I wish to discuss now. I only had one blade left to rescue, the one in the prison part of the dungeon. Soon after entering, I could hear grunts and cries of pain echoing in the distance. My initial thought it was part of the ambiance of the setting, something to spook the player given the cursed nature of the dungeon. But upon closer inspection, I discovered that the source of the noise was the final blade ghost, who somehow had spawned in and was being repeatedly attacked by his own cursed skeleton. Out of curiosity, I let him continue to be abused, but in retrospect, I should have expected he would be essential and not die or take any damage. Again. Anyway, I end the man's self-abuse, and after waiting several in-game hours for him to get to where he needs to be, I can retrieve the armor of Tiber Septim and allow Martin to live out his cosplay fantasies. With the unintended spookiness of Sancrator behind me, it's off to Miss Cargant to retrieve the Great Welcome Stone. I can fast travel back to the abandoned farm and be there in a jiffy. The dungeon is chock full of goblins, skeletons, and zombies, who are meant to fight each other, but in this case I believe they spawned a bit too far apart for that to happen? No big deal, the zombies take the most punishment, and some end up dying from the blade shield I decided to keep from Sancrator with its reflect damage enchantment. When I pick up the stone, the King of Miscargan appears, who I quickly rush down and just as quickly kill, seeing as he lacks defenses when you get up close. Before returning to Martin, I want to clear one more Oblivion gate for the same reasons as before, and for no particular reason went for the one outside Breville. It's here I finally clued into the health drain for the Aegis, and for the rest of the run you'll see my health fluctuate whenever I heal. Nothing else to go over other than mentioning the cool aesthetic of this tower being submerged in the lava. The stone I get from it is a fire-based one, which I hold onto so I can enchant it after entering Paradise. I then enlist Breville's aid, which consists only of the captain of the guard. Just her. No one else. I then also remember Kvatch and fast traveled over to pick up their assistance as well. With that, I'm good with the assistance I got for the Battle of Bruma, so after handing another shopping item to Martin, it's time to begin the battle. But not before jumping on the sigil stone floating in the room. Anyway, the Countess of Bruma is just as gung-ho as the rest of us, and we begin marching out for the gate. When the Daedras start coming, they finally leveled up and upgraded to regular scamps and Dremora Fadesnaz? The defense begins very poorly, as we add 2 more to the Tamriel team kill counter, as we lose 2 Bruma Militia and a Bruma Guard, and the initial assault. Like before at Kvatch, I stayed back from the fighting, not wanting to accidentally hit an ally, and once the Great Gate opens, I just sprint right on in past all the enemies. The Great Gate sequence is where the run finally does start ramping up the challenge. All the enemies, as said before, has scaled above my level now, given the upgraded Jamora and some clan fears. They do force me to be more careful, aside from this one, who fell off the tower to his death. Thankfully, I stocked up on many health potions looted and bought up to this point. Even with the slower approach, I still reached the Great Sigil Stone with 5 minutes to spare, closing the gate, and Captain Bird then does a celebratory superhero landing on the main Jamora when I return. Good to see all the named NPCs survived for a change. Martin then congratulates me, and now it's time to enter Paradise. Oh, and I do find another Sigil Stone on the ground afterwards, and this gives me a 10% Frost Shield effect, so I enchant another piece of armor with it. Before heading to the final boss fight, I sold the last of my loot from earlier, looking to pay for heavy armor lessons, but I was too high level in the skill to get some. Regardless, I tell Martin I'm ready, and stand in the way as the portal opens on top of me. Clear runs dot to the garden and caves, but one-on-one with my fire axe, they're not too much trouble. I then fight Caputet for the Bands of the Chosen One, which I win quite handedly. Eldamil then converses with me while hiding behind a wall when I get inside, and I agree to play along with him to get to Camoran. Once he takes the bands off, I allow him to tag along, only for the first clanfear to one-shot him. He does of course respond, but his performance through the rest of the caves does not help much.
Show me what.
Reaching the peak of the Savage Garden, I repair all my weapons and refill my weapon enchantment before facing Camoran. His children are outside, and I cut them down so as to rush Camoran alone in the main chamber. I do just that, getting some good slashes in before he pulls away, along with me accidentally killing Eldamil again. Spamming health potions, I can weather the magic attacks from him, and emerge victorious before his backup can respawn, retrieving the Amulet of Kings. Things are very strange when I return, and I feel it's better to just show it to you than try to describe what I saw.
To their authority. Let's go to the Imperial City at once, before the enemy can recover from Manka Camoran's death.
Time is pressing. Martin must relight the dragon fires before the enemy can stop us. May Uriel's spirit guide us in these troubled times.
These are indeed troubled times, Joffrey. Are you okay? Joffrey must have had some problems to work through, and also a bounty of some kind. Because when we got to the Imperial Palace, the palace guards then began attacking him. I tried to stand in front of them to shield him, but had to move to talk with Chancellor Akato, and in that time, he and I were locked in place, and then they shot him to death.
Help!
There's no jank like Oblivion jank, right? And yes, the adoring fan returned from his time to hell to stalk me once more. The Daedra and the last stretch are the toughest yet, but I have significant backup to fight with. Minus Joffrey. I ran through most of the way, having my NPC allies draw most of the aggro. That is, except Martin, who stopped moving halfway there, forcing me to return to and get him to move on. Once Martin stops having cold feet, he and I can reach the Temple of the One. He unleashes his dragon blood that will one day be reborn 200 years later for Skyrim, and completing this challenge run of the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. Before my end spiel, I'll answer something for those curious. After the credits, I went and rested up in a bed and had enough skill increases to go all the way to level 12. I also must have killed an innocent along the way somewhere, as Lucian spawned in after the first sleep. I don't have any idea who it was, though. So yes, I knew this run was more than possible, but again, I just wanted to attempt to run in Oblivion. Oblivion is a unique case where the game is arguably easier by not engaging with the leveling system. More so the case in the original. What do you think? Let me know below, and if you have any ideas for future runs, leave them there as well. Be sure to give a like and sub if you enjoyed for more fun runs that will come in future. That said, I have said everything I need to, except for a final goodbye.
We accomplished a lot together. It was fun. Take care.